We'll call the regular meeting of the Upshur County Commission to order. We'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll have the reading of the minutes of the April 25th, 2013 Upshur County Commission meeting.
The County Commission of Upshur County, West Virginia held their regular meeting at the Courthouse Annex on Thursday, April 25, 2013 at 9 a.m. Donnie Tenney called the meeting to order. There were present Donnie Tenney, Commissioner, J.C. Rafferty, Commissioner, Troy Brady, Commissioner, Megan Pomeroy, Assistant County Administrator, and Jacqueline Dinklocker, Secretary. The meeting began with a moment of silent meditation and prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All motions passed unanimously unless otherwise stated. After reading of the minutes on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the Commission approved the regular meeting minutes of April 18, 2013 as submitted. Andy and Grace Losh, Upshur County residents, appeared before the Commission to report on their concerns about a vicious dog that runs loose in the neighborhood. The Jack Lane residents reported that people in the neighborhood are fearful of the large Doberman and two other dogs that are running loose. Mr. and Mrs. Losh have reported that one of the animals, a small dog named Coco, has bitten victims at least 3 times. Residents have reported the situation to Animal Control and have commended Mike Miller, Animal Control Officer, on his efforts in responding to their complaints. Mr. Miller has made numerous trips to the neighborhood and spoken to the owners of the dogs, requiring that the dogs be confined to the owner's yard except when being walked on a leash. With the latest offense, the owner will be required to obtain a vicious dog license and keep the animals confined to their property. If further offenses occurred, penalties can include seizure of the animals, fines, and liability for any damages. James Ferry, Office of Emergency Management Director, appeared before the Commission concerning a request from Barber County LEPC to merge with Lewis Upshur LEPC. Mr. Ferry advised that the merger would have many benefits, which would include possible increase of funds from grants and pooling of resources and additional members for increased accomplishments. Mr. Ferry said the cost of merging would be minimal. After discussion, Donnie Tenney advised that the Commission is in agreement that the merger would be beneficial and requested Mr. Ferry to follow up. Donnie Tenney requested Megan Pomeroy to follow up with Family Court personnel concerning item number 1, review and consider request from Family Court personnel regarding location of Circuit Court witness area for a future agenda. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the Commission approved Jennifer Allison LaFear as volunteer for the Lewis Upshur Animal Control Facility. After discussion on motion by J.C. Rafferty, seconded by Troy Brady, the Commission approved and authorized the Commission to sign correspondence to Brooks Hill Community Center representatives concerning their request for a donation for funding of a stage, as discussed at the April 11, 2013 Commission meeting. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the Commission approved Shane Shaver as volunteer for Community Corrections Day Report Center. The Commission discussed the letter of recommendation from the Adrian Public Service District for the position of Board of Directors members. After discussion, the Commission postponed the appointment to further review and research a possible conflict of interest of one of the candidates. Ron Pugh appeared as City Council member on behalf of the City of Buchanan to request that the Commission meet with the City concerning matters of interest and or joint projects between City and County. After discussion, Donnie Tenney advised that the Commission would meet with City Council on the 5th Thursday at 7 p.m., alternating locations. The commission will meet with City Council on May 30, 2013 at City Council chambers. Tim Simons of the Woda Group Incorporated, Senior Vice President, appeared before the commission and presented a proposal for a senior housing development project, Pringle House. Mr. Simons requested a letter of support for the construction of up to 48 units for seniors 55 and over. After discussion on motion by Troy Brady, seconded by J.C. Rafferty, the commission approved and authorized the president to sign the letter of support. The commission reviewed the following for your information items. Number 1, correspondence from Region 7 Planning and Development Council, Strategic Broadband Plan. Number 2, correspondence from the West Virginia Classic Wheels Car Club regarding Blast from the Past event and funding request. Jerry Kimball, Car Club member, provided a review of activities and events and advised that proceeds raised will benefit several charitable causes. Number 3, correspondence from St. Gobain SafePro regarding notice of mass layoff. Number 4, agendas and notices of meetings as listed. Number 5, meeting minutes and financial reports as listed. Number 6, meetings as listed. Number 7, appointments needed or upcoming as listed. The commission approved all invoices for payment. The commission approved all vacation orders. The commission approved the following settlements as listed. The commission approved the following request to attend meetings as listed. The commission approved the following consolidation of land tracts as listed. Debbie Thacker Wilfong, Upshur County Clerk, appeared before the commission and advised that per her email inquiry to Barbara Gandy, Fair Labor Board Representative, concerning payroll distribution, that employees who currently receive a paycheck versus direct deposit may submit a written request to pick up their check in person and receive their check on payday instead of by mail delivery in order to ensure timely payment of wages. The item will be placed on a future agenda for discussion and/or action. The commission recessed at 10:25 a.m. The commission reconvened at 10:30 a.m. Steve Linger, E911 Communications Center Director, appeared before the commission with Dirk Burnside, Office of Emergency Management Telecommunications Advisor, to discuss radio communication issues. Mr. Burnside discussed solutions and options for more dependable communications. Mr. Linger suggested a radio summit to solve communication issues. Steve Linger provided a review of the quote from Emergitech for text/paging software in the amount of $3,605 with a yearly maintenance fee of $242. No action was taken at this time. Donnie Tenney advised Mr. Linger to meet with the Firefighters Association/fire chiefs for their input. Steve Linger requested to meet in executive session to discuss staffing issues. On motion by J.C. Rafferty, second by Troy Brady, the commission entered its executive session 11:20 a.m. per West Virginia Code 6-9A-4. Present were Donnie Tenney, J.C. Rafferty, Troy Brady, Megan Pomeroy, and Steve Linger. The commission returned to open session 11:40 a.m. And after discussion on motion by J.C. Rafferty, seconded by Troy Brady, the commission approved the employment of Jody L. Martin, Gloria Aber, and Benton O. Wingler as part-time with a weekly average of 29.5 hours or less, E911 Communication Center dispatchers. Effective date of employment for all is May 6, 2013, at the rate of $10 per hour. George Racing, county resident, appeared before the commission and presented a note from William Parker that was given to him by a third party. Donnie Tenney advised that since Mr. Parker was not available at this time for discussion, he will follow up and get back with Mr. Racing at a future date. Megan Pomeroy advised that she had received a call from Nina Monroe concerning Dago Road. Ms. Monroe said that residents had complained about the road name as being an ethnic slur. Terry Joe Bennett, addressing and mapping coordinator, advised that the road name was chosen by landowners per E911 addressing and mapping ordinance guidelines, and no ethnic slur was intended. Terry Joe Bennett, building permit officer, Addressing and Mapping Coordinator, appeared before the Commission to request permission to include notices concerning building permits and address display information with fire fee mailings and assessment information. After discussion, Donnie Tenney advised that the Commission staff will follow up with appropriate personnel and put the item on a future agenda for action. With no further business, a motion by J.C. Rafferty, second by Troy Brady. The Commission meeting adjourned at 2:15 p.m. And that is an error. It wasn't 2:15. It was, what, 11:30, I think.
I believe it was before lunch, yeah. Okay, are there any other additions or any corrections to the minutes? Well, I'd ask for a motion to be approved as such.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Okay, our appointment is, first one is at 10 o'clock, and so we will go down through our list of items to do and possible action. The first being approval of Upshur County Republican Executive Committee for use of Courthouse Annex for Sesquicentennial celebration on June 20th. That's been an ongoing event for many years, and they've asked for permission to use the front of the courthouse annex, and asked that, as has happened in the past, that we make arrangements with the maintenance to have some tables and chairs and someone to open the door. So we will coordinate that with the maintenance. So I would ask for a motion that we approve this request.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Megan, if you would make a note to check with Greg and make sure we accommodate that. Thank you very much. Next item is approval of Community Participation Grants Program application for Ellamore Volunteer Fire Department for $4,000, and that's 2 through 22. And as I read this, if I read it correctly, it's to help pay for some radios.
Correct. There, as has been noted in previous commission meetings, there are some radio communication issues, and their radios, I believe, are pretty out of date. So they're hoping to use this grant money to purchase new radios to help in their communication issues.
Okay. So we would need a motion to approve this community participation grant application and authorize the president to sign any and all documents.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 3, review and consider volunteers for Lewis Upshur Animal Control Facility. Miranda Knoll Lincecum. That's exactly what I was going to say. Lincecum. And Victoria Ann Giffen. These came from Jan. Okay, so we have a motion to approve these.
I believe they're both students from West Virginia Wesleyan College.
We're getting a lot of participation from Westland, and that's very much appreciated.
Also moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have correspondence from the West Virginia Division of Culture and History, it's easy for you to say. Sesquicentennial Parade application. Interested representatives from Upshur County for the parade, and they're having a parade in Charleston, and they want participants from each county. And so they're asking us to identify a group that would like to be in the parade. So I guess this would be the opportunity for us to get the word out to folks. If there's a group that would like to, let me get that page here. Our goal is to have representatives from all 55 counties. We are seeking community and civic groups, military and law enforcement organizations, middle school, high school bands, as well as youth organizations. We hope you share this letter along with the enclosed registration form with the group you select to represent our county in the parade. And that, we have to send that back no later than May the 31st. And the parade will be June the 22nd in Charleston. So we need to give that some thought and get the word out as to what group would be interested and willing to participate in that to represent Upshur County. So be thinking about that. Next item is correspondence from Bonnie L. Beavers, Division of Justice and Community Service regarding receipt of Justice Assistance Grant Program application for $28,000. Is that the prosecuting attorney's office?
Yes.
Okay. And that's just acknowledgement of the receipt.
Correct. And they have to schedule a meeting to go down and, or I believe it's over the
Or
phone.
be available, yeah. They said, have so many applications, they don't want people there because they don't have time, but they want somebody available if they have questions that they can call. So I think that can be accommodated. And we have our Upshur County Road Name Index. Several pages of those. This is a list of all the roads in Upshur County that have been approved. So if you want to know if your road's been approved, look at this list. And we have correspondence from Dennis and Deanne Berry regarding Small Cities Block Grant Phase 3 Waterline Extension with Elkins Road PSD.
This is a couple that live in the area that they are proposing that extension. They actually live out of state, so they weren't able to attend the meeting that we had, that hearing. So they wanted to write a letter and express their support of that waterline extension.
Okay. Right, they live just as you start up Hawkins Road. Okay, well, we will include that in with their documentation. I think it would be good to get a copy of this to Region 7 that they can put in there, because I noticed they didn't copy them on that, so that way they can put that in with their documentation on that public hearing. And we have meeting minutes and financial reports from the Buchanan Watershed Association. And unless I've overlooked something, and there's something else, Megan,
Bill?
we have about a half an hour to, Joe?
I have a couple questions on the road names.
All right, you go right ahead.
I know that some of the new names, they might all be on Google now, but on my GPS, I haven't had it updated yet. Now, like up at my house, the Burgum Road is about half a mile further than what the GPS says. Coming into town, oh shoot, up there French Creek. What's that road up there, buddy? We're right off French Creek Straight.
Left, you got the Waterloo Road,
No, on the straight.
turns off right.
Yeah, left. After the old Hoovertown Road. Where Gary Fisher lives out there.
Oh, just a short road that goes out there.
Yeah, see, it's clear up right past the old funeral home on the GPS. It's in there. And I'm just wondering, will that be updated on this new system?
But now, when you say,
Because a lot of times, like, I know people with the squad, they're different people from out of town. Or,
Right.
You know, they probably will set that GPS and go and you know, they might get confused.
is that the GPS of the house?
Well, I mean, the road name, I mean, you know, you set your GPS for a certain road right now, or address or whatever, and that's where it's supposed to take you.
Well, you see, the only reason I ask is because I know that gentleman was in here on an issue of a appraisal and assessment some time ago, a couple years ago, and I believe his house is right across from where you said, but where you turn off 20, right there's a lady we could ask about that. We've got a few minutes, so we've entered into a discussion on road names and GPS So,
And then there will be another question after that. but
okay.
Will, on the new road names, like, I'll just use where I live on Princeton Road, the Bergen Road. Okay, on my GPS, it's about a half a mile back is where it says go on the Bergen Road, where it actually is. And then, what, do you know the name of the road where Gary Fisher lives, that one? That French Creek, the one on the straight up there that turns left right before you get to that one turn?
I think it's the Centerville Park.
Yeah, it says on my GPS, and even though we got the navigation in the car, even on it, it says it's up there where that Phillips Trucking is. It says that's the road. And I'm just wondering, how will that affect people who aren't familiar? You know, a lot of people, like, well, let's just say the fire department here, if they had to call up there and they were using a GPS. I know they got radios, but still, emergency squad or something, will that affect them getting to a call?
Well, I mean, what I can tell you is anybody that's in emergency response needs to rely on the
Okay.
911 communication center to dispatch to these physical addresses. So, I mean, I think you're asking two separate questions first and foremost. I mean, if emergency responders are sent to the Centerville Park Road, they need to let the 911 communication center dispatch them to that Park Road, not rely on where they think the road is or what their information, you know, what they've done in the past. Now, flip side of that, like you're talking about with your GPS unit within your personal vehicle, you know, we don't release that information to anybody. That our internal, that information when we assign a physical address is kept internally. The only people that have that have been the addressing and mapping office in Charleston. So they're selling that information to like TeleAtlas and those people. So, you know, when that gets updated, the county certainly has no authority or has no control over that because we don't release that information to anybody. I think a lot depends on how updated your GPS unit is. You know, if you go to Google Maps right now on the internet and type in just about any address, because most of us know what our physical address is, Google Earth will take you right to it. That's updated. You know, it was done last year. So, you know, I don't want you to mix two different things, but I don't know that I really answered your question completely.
Well, really, we're not just, like I say, where it says that these roads actually are, there's a driveway, that's it. There's no road.
But that's your vehicle's mapping and addressing system,
Well,
not the one.
where do they get that from?
Well, I think,
I think some of that information came from TeleAtlas, who then sells it to like the Garmin and the TomToms and those, and they receive that information, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, Joe, back 10 years ago from the assessor's office. So they actually pulled that information from tax maps, and the reason I know that is because you will have like, I'm trying to think, 10 Mile Queens Road. You know, that's what a tax map says on a map from a few years ago, where our address and mapping certainly doesn't say that. It's called the Tolman's or the 10 Mile Road. So I know that, you know, there's some updating that needs to take place, but I don't think that, you know, that's up to them to do that updating, and then it's up to you to download the update into your GPS unit.
I'm not complaining, I think it's a good deal, but, and then another one, you might not be able to answer this, probably communications might be able to, but like my father-in-law, he lives the first house off the Alton Road, going up the old Laurel Ford Road. But his address is Grand Camp. And I don't care, anybody in the county gets called Grand Camp, they're going to Gould, crossing up over the hill, you know, and it's 3 miles from Gould over to his house. And I mean, if you got a call to Grand Camp, where would you go? Gould. So I mean, that's, I don't know whether they know it, communications is its first house off the Alton Road. And you can see it from the Alton.
it should be, shouldn't it? I mean, they have a
They
map.
have the most updated information.
Yeah,
They
but
have just
still,
as much updated information.
if the
as
call
what I
comes in,
have.
do they say this is, you know, they ask him what his address is, he says it's 30-something Grand Camp Road. I mean, my first instinct is go to Google.
Well, what they have available is they know where that particular road turns off of Route 20 South, or what's it called?
Alton Road.
It would be, it's in between the Alton Road and the Gould Road.
Okay.
Grand Camp goes across the hill there.
Okay,
So
and
they
but,
know, their system shows them where numbers 1 and 2 start. So they know what we consider the beginning of that road. And so that number would tell them where that house is actually located. I like to always use my own road name as the example. My address is 1971 Laurel Road Road. That automatically tells everybody and anybody that I'm 1.9 of a mile and a few hundred feet on the left of the Laurel Road Road.
But-
So they know where 1 and 2 start.
Right, but what I'm saying is if, let's say, I know that the squad has people that's not familiar with the county, and they get a call to 30-some hundred Grand Camp Road, and they know 1 and 2 starts over at the Gould Road, and they send the Grand Camp Road, are they going there and it's going to take them up over that rough road an extra 15, 20 minutes to get to his house?
Well, that's-
What if they go about?
They should be routed by the Alton Road, because
Right.
that's where
Well,
they would be
that-
routed by Alton Road.
right.
But was a concern,
And I
because he's
really-
getting up in age and he lives by himself.
And I really do think that that's more a question that you would need to ask
That's what I
Steve,
think.
because the way the CAD system works, from what I understand, is they can route coming back, back way. Depending on which way you're coming in, they would be able to flip that information and be able to dispatch you coming the back way. So regardless of where numbers 1 and 2 would begin, for numbering purposes, if there's another entryway into it, they can certainly dispatch that way. But I really think that question you would need to talk to Steve to get in your mind to make sure that you get it answered correctly. Because that's more a dispatching thing, which I'm not involved in that
I
at all.
kind of thought that would do that, but.
If 911,
Because, you worry about our elders.
if 911 dispatch is right, should say take a left on the Alton Road, go out there so many miles, take a left, first house on the right. But from the old school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they say you got to call in Grand Camp, I'm going to Adrian, turn left to go, you know what I mean, go that way, which will be 15 minutes longer than the other. So depends on whether Steve gets that call dispatched right, will make a big difference on the outcome.
Well, I might catch you here one day.
Was that 2 or 3 questions, John? Was that 2 or 3 you
I think it
asked?
was just 2.
Might have got a free question in there.
Like I say, I'm not complaining about this, because
Yeah.
I like this deal. I
Well,
think
you know-
it's in the long run, but we just, there's things that's got to be ironed out, and I know that.
I had heard concerns of that same issue you're talking about, where there's a lot of new folks on the emergency squad. But that's where the comm center, if someone doesn't have any idea of where the roads are, but they know where Route 20 South is, the comm center should be able to get them there. With the information, my understanding, with the information that the communication center has, they can say, start at the courthouse and direct them right to that house, that you go X number of miles, you turn to the left or right, and you go X number of miles, and you turn left or right, and you go X number of miles, and it's on the left or right of that particular, just like in town. Just like if someone was given directions in town and they said, go down Canal Street to, Park Street and turn left, and then go to Park Street and turn right on whatever that street is, and then go to the next street, Myrna Street, and turn left, and it's the 4th house on the right. That's the purpose of it. Because in town, if you had someone telling you, go to a certain street and turn left, and go to the next one, turn right, and go to the next one, turn left, first house on the right, it's easy to find it. Now, the only difference in the county, those streets are spread out. Instead of 2 blocks apart, they're 5 miles apart. But still, it's the same principle and the same theory, and basically, the comm center is supposed to be the emergency services Garmin. They're supposed to be able to get them there. So if there's issues, and I do know someone told me that there was issues with the ambulance going past and going past the road or looking for houses. Well, if there's issues like that, then we as a commission, and we've asked ever since I've been here on the commission, if there's any issues of concern like that, bring them to the commission. Put them in writing, bring them to the commission. We'll talk to Steve, because the way it is now, could be a dispatching problem. It could be a transfer issue of once it goes from Terry Joe, could be correct information. Once it's transferred to the CAD system, there could be an issue there. So there's a lot of opportunities there till we get this thing worked out. So any issues of concern, any problems that people are having, emergency services, put it in writing, get the commission, and we'll certainly do everything we can to make sure that we get all these issues resolved as quickly as possible. And you know, just like when the other fire departments came in, there were a lot of issues of concern, but expressed, and they were no doubt valid, but we haven't gotten anything in writing. So, you know, if it's not in writing, then we can't correct the problem. And so that's the most important thing. If a fire department's having trouble finding addresses, if the emergency squad's having trouble, put it in writing, get it to us, and we'll take it through the proper channels so we can get the bugs worked out of this.
Well, and no doubt, I mean, I think it's a learning curve for everybody. I mean, we can sit here and talk to a blue in the face of saying how it should work. That's maybe not always the way it does work though, but you know, the way it should work, it should certainly speed up emergency service time. But you know, something that I want to throw out there that, you know, Joe, and you can certainly vouch for me on this one, I'm sure, this whole system is only going to be as good as the people who actually put out and identify what their physical address is. You know, can we dispatch to an address that doesn't have a number up? Sure, we can. But it's human nature for all of us when we're looking for an address or a road to look for that road sign and then help guide us into where that house is. So, you know, I can't stress enough that it's very, very important for the residents of Upshur County to know what their physical address is and to display that address in a manner that it can be seen so that, you know, in case you do have an accident or you need emergency responders sent to your home, you know, to help guide them into that house, you need to display that address. So.
Okay, very good. Good discussion. You gentlemen have anything else? If not, do we have some paperwork?
We do.
Well, we'll get started. We now have about 15 minutes.
No, I don't. I didn't feel like you were.
Whenever you're ready. Okay, it's 10 o'clock and we have Wayne Lipscomb, Upshur County Citizen Dog Owner Review of Neighborhood Dog Issues. So let's let Mike come up and preface what we're going to talk about today so we have we know the background and what we're going to be discussing today, and then we'll let Mr. Lipscomb come up.
Last week at the meeting, we had a group of concerned citizens that over an issue with a dog running at large, a red Doberman that they had said was vicious, had showed aggressive behavior to different people up in the area. And so I looked for the dog for, I don't know, it was close to 2 weeks prior to last week's meeting. And when I finally got the information of where it was, I went and talked to the owners and instructed them that they needed to keep the dog tied up and contained to their property. Well, at which time we had a agreement signed between myself and Mr. Lipscomb's wife that they would do that. Well, in the meantime, the dog reportedly was loose the next day. So I went back and talked to him again, and I talked to Mr. Lipscomb on the phone, and he was unable to miss work to be at the meeting to state his side of it. And we have the issue pretty much under control, except with there's a part where if he wants to walk his dog, he feels that he should be able to, not just on his property. By the way, the agreement states, contained to your property is contained to your property. My opinion of the dog, he's just a puppy. He's a big dog. People get the wrong impression of him. And I don't feel in my own heart that the dog is actually vicious. But, when people look at it in different ways, he still could be harmful, even in other ways other than biting. But we thought that me and Megan talked, and we thought that we might be able to come up with some stipulations to where Mr. Lipscomb could go ahead and walk his dog, around the neighborhood with these stipulations in place, and that's where we're at today.
On a leash, I presume?
Yeah. I haven't got to talk to him yet about, what the stipulations will be. Just to get them out in the open. If that's what the case is going to be, then the dog will have to be walked by him, somebody that can actually control him. I don't feel that his wife or his daughter possess the strength, what it's going to take to make sure the dog, if he decides to lunge at somebody, doesn't break free. Must be on a well-maintained leash and possibly muzzled. I don't feel that it really needs to be, but to take the fear factor away from the other people that live up there.
The dog hasn't bit anybody in the neighborhood. I mean, nobody's reported the dog biting anybody, has it?
No.
I think the people in the neighborhood are just afraid.
Mr. Lipscomb, why don't you come up and...
That's what it is. It's a misconception, big dog, whoo,
up here, they can speak to the...
I thought my backyard.
But what we're dealing with is people that are up in age and little kids. You got school there. The dog.
I've got no problem containing him with the leash, but I feel a muzzle on him, and my wife needs to be able to walk that dog too, because I leave the house about 4:30 in the morning. And I don't get back home till about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. That's an awful long time for her to leave the dog there at the house without taking him for a walk. She can handle the dog just fine. I would like to have brought the dog to the court today. And I addressed the young lady about it when I come up here last Friday to show, you all that the dog's not aggressive. The dog is a pup. The dog will bark at a stranger. I'm not going to say that he won't. But I've never had the dog lunge at anybody. Never had the dog bite anybody. I have no problem keeping the dog contained in my yard. I'd like to be able to walk the dog on a leash. I realize, I should have contained the dog to my yard a while back. That's on my ignorance. I would like to be able to take the dog and walk him on the leash, and I feel my wife ought to be able to take the dog and walk him on the leash. She's more than able to handle that dog. We've got a leash that goes up to 200 pounds for that dog. He only weighs about 85, 90 pounds. He's 7 months old, like he said. He is a big dog. He's just a pup.
Well, I think from what I understand, the people that came in last week, they're in their minds, their concerns are real, and it's an issue of protecting your rights and protecting their rights.
Go
ahead.
They won't have a problem with the dog anymore, because he is contained to our property. I went and bought an electric fence to put it up for him since all this has took place. And I don't feel that he's had an issue since last week, other than they told him they've seen a dog nipping at somebody, am I correct?
No, they said he was loose almost immediately after I had left, or the next morning. No, as far as I
We've had him on a
know.
leash this whole time.
They said he chased a car.
He hasn't chased anything since you've been there. We've had him on a leash, we've had him chained up in the yard. Now we've got this electric fence up.
Has that contained him? Have you observed the dog being contained by the electric
Yeah.
fence?
I've got him, but it's on full strength. But, you know, I let him get close enough to him, let him realize it. You know, that's what it is.
Is it in-ground,
Yeah.
underground fence?
Yeah.
And he knows the boundaries of it. You walked him and
Oh, yeah.
around it like video's supposed to say.
Yes. I followed all the video, you know, and so far, you know, I have heard tell dogs be able to get across them, but so far he's stayed on our side.
I guess one of the questions I have regarding the vicious dog contract, it was signed by Patricia, your wife.
Yes.
Is this a state form, or is it something that we, or somebody within the county system drew up on their own?
No, I think it was drawn up by animal control.
So it can be amended if we wanted to
Yes, and
provide for a
actually-
leash or something like
And
that.
actually, I dropped it off to the prosecuting attorney, and she briefly had a chance to look at it, and she feels it does need some modifications. What they are, I don't know yet.
Well, one might be that as long as the animal was contained under immediate control on a leash, might
yeah.
be something that can be added there as
Yeah.
an alternative. On a general, not in this case, but generally
Yeah,
speaking.
yeah.
Well, I would say, as long as their concerns are addressed as far as their concerns for safety, my thoughts are if you walk the dog and if you're walking and one of the neighbors and the dog starts growling and barking at him, then you need to stop the dog, whatever it takes to stop the dog from doing that. I mean, the worst case scenario would be if you're walking the dog, or your wife's walking the dog, and the neighbors are out and he runs and, you know, pulls toward them and barks and growls, and then we're going to hear from them again. So if my thoughts are, if you're walking the dog and there's no problems, then I don't think the neighbors are going to have a problem. But if he does start barking and you can't control him, then you may have to put a muzzle on him to be able to walk him so that they don't have concerns. But if you can control the dog and you can walk him and he's not barking and lunging at people as they go by, then I don't think the neighbors are going to have a problem with that. I think their concern is the dog running loose and growling and barking at him, whether he would hurt them or not. You never know.
I feel that they don't like big dogs.
Well, I think they're scared of them too.
And, you know, I believe if they want to come in here again and say the dog has done something, I believe that they already provided a picture or a video of it. If anybody can come in here and say, well, the dog lunged at me, we have avoided keeping that dog run away from any of the neighbors to keep the trouble down.
Well, I think
That's the way I'm going to keep it.
right. And I think if you do that, then I don't think we'll have any problems personally. I mean, just from the way they talk, as long as they don't feel threatened, as the dog's controlled, whether you're walking him or whether he's controlled in your lawn area, where they don't feel threatened by the dog, then I don't think there'll be a problem. And I told them last week that if there's any issues of concern, all they got to do is call Mike,
Yeah.
and you guys can try to work it out. Because that's the best place to work it out is with Mike, mediating between you and your neighbors.
But you, I think, recognize under law, you're responsible for any damage to a person or to property
Yes, I understand.
from your dogs. I mean, that's incumbent on you, I mean, not to expose yourself to those issues.
Yes.
And that's the point that I was trying to make is, you know, to me, he's not a vicious dog. You know, he never act that way to me. More puppy-like than anything, but other people see different actions different ways. And if the dog were to be free, to break loose or get away, and go over and knock one of them down, see, there you are, liable for whatever damage you do to him. And, you know, little kids too. The dog's big, and he'd be, oh, I'm just gonna play, but jumps on him, knocks him down, hurts him. So it's very critical that we do keep him under your control.
I've got no problem with that.
Perception is reality as far as the neighbors go.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And, you know, I'm not on their side, I'm not on your side. I'm concerned about both sides. You know, I don't want you to open yourself up for legal litigation. And I don't want them to open themselves up for injuries. So,
the burden is on
Okay.
you, Mr. Lipscomb.
So you're going to
burden
get
is
with
really on
the
you.
prosecuting attorney's office and get that worded, and worded in such a manner then so they can sign the new document? Okay.
yeah, I don't know how long it'll take her. She's got a busy schedule.
All right, well, as long as everyone understands what the requirements are, then.
And I certainly don't see any problem with your wife or you walking that dog as long as it's on a leash. You may, if you see a bunch of neighbors out, especially the neighbors you know is complaining, if they happen to be out, take a left.
Oh, wait a second.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Don't go down by
yeah.
the neighbors, whatever, use a
If
little
you're away
common
from
sense.
them,
Now, she walks in kind of early in the morning, you know, he likes to go outside and do his business, then, like I said, it's 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening before I can get him, maybe later. Usually it's after dark time, I make my round with him.
And some people are scared to death. Dog. You put the sides with him, and you go, oh,
You know, he's a big dog, I ain't gonna say, you can tell he's a big dog.
he's a big dog. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, and hopefully we've got everything resolved and everybody will be
All
happy.
right.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Dwayne, thanks for
Lipscomb.
stopping in.
Thank you.
Okay, next meeting's at 1 o'clock, executive session, so we'll go ahead and finish paying the bills and